All right. Good evening, good morning, good afternoon, depending on where you are. It's a great joy to come your way again this Sunday afternoon, Sunday morning, Sunday evening. We are privileged to have you on board. For the past, I think, 3 weeks, we've been talking about trauma. Okay, let me add our counselor and then we can move on. Okay, yeah. All right. Hello, everyone. Hello, everyone. Welcome to Overcomer's Diary. And it's always a privilege to come your way. Please take a minute. Let's share and invite friends and family. We've been dealing with the topic trauma, and by the grace of God, we are going deeper and deeper. And so tonight, I don't want you to hear it alone. So please take time, share the link with others. Facebook, YouTube, share the link with others. Let's educate ourselves together. For the next minute, please do share the link, share the link, and let's dive in it together. Thank you. Okay. All right. Okay. Good evening once again. You are once again welcome to Overcomer's Diary. My name is Nancy
Good
Counselor
evening.
now. Yes. Good evening. And today or for the past 3 weeks, like I said, we've been on the topic trauma, and if we look at it, we've been going deeper and deeper. And last week we started delving deeper into unresolved traumatic experiences from early years or from our early years, and it's been a blessing to so many people. The messages I've been getting and all that, and so I know that even as we dive in more today, it will also be a blessing and bring healing to many that are going through this stage of their life. And so, once again, you are very welcome. Thank you for joining. Please do share the link, like our page, comment. Let's communicate together. And tonight, I'm not here alone. I'm here with this wise, great counselors who's been with me for throughout this journey. And so I'm privileged once again to introduce them to you, or allow them to introduce and welcome themselves to you and welcome you on board so that we go on the journey together. We've been doing an hour for the past week, but today and maybe for the rest of next month, we want to do an hour 30 minutes because of the topic we are doing. And so please bear with us and just go on the journey together with us. And we know you will be blessed. We know that a lot of things will turn in your life for positive or better. God bless you, and sit, relax, take your tea, drink, and enjoy the episode with us. Okay, I would like to personally welcome my mother and a mentor all the way from Northampton, United Kingdom, Reverend Cynthia Sutherland on board. Mommy, can you please introduce yourself and say hello to our viewers? God bless you. Thank you once again.
Thank you very much. I'm Reverend Cynthia Sutherland, as you introduced. I've been privileged to be a participant in what God is doing through Overcomer's Diary. And today is another day that we are looking forward to see what God has for us, the change that is going to come as a result of what we are doing. So sit behind your machine, sit behind your device. Don't get
Yes.
up because we are going to be giving information that will help you. Not even if it's not now, the future awaits you, and God will give us the result that we need. Amen.
Amen. Thank you so much. So we are still in United Kingdom. And then we go all the way to Peterborough. Reverend John Abankwa, thank you for once again honoring our invitation. It's always a privilege to work with you. So I hand over to you to welcome our viewers for us. God bless you.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Councillor Nab. Once again, we have come your way. And I believe that God is going to use us to be a blessing to somebody tonight on this platform. So open up your spirit and let's all work together and see the hand of the Lord move in our affairs in the name of Jesus Christ. Amen.
Amen.
Amen. Amen. So before I come back to UK, I want to drive to Ghana. This one, I'm
Mhm.
not taking
Wow.
flight. I'm driving
Hey, that would take a long
Ghana,
time.
Ghana, all the way to Ghana, Accra. And I want to introduce our, in actual fact, it's her first time on, and she's going to be a blessing to you. I had the privilege to speak to him for short, for her, with her for a short period, and I know that you are going to be a blessing tonight. She's a counselor, she's a reverend minister, and so I want to hand over to you, Reverend Irene, to introduce yourself to our viewers and welcome them for us. Thank you so much for coming.
Thank you so much for the opportunity, Councillor Nancy. I'm really grateful to be part of this wonderful work you are doing for the Lord.
Amen.
I'm Irene Owusu Ateido, a Methodist minister, a special educator, and a counselor.
Wow.
Um, and I believe that our viewers, wherever you are watching us from, we trust that the good Lord is going to use all of us here
Amen.
to come your way and soothing your heart. Maybe you are going through traumatic experience, and we believe that whatever we share here is going to help you. If not you, it will be a friend, a child, or somebody closer to you. So we want to encourage you to stay tuned and enjoy whatever the Lord is going to do through all of us. Thank you
Amen.
so much for the opportunity. I'm really grateful.
Thank you so much,
Thank you.
Reverend. Thank you. Thank you for coming. All right. Now I'm back. You know, it didn't take me too long. I'm back to you. And now I'm driving to Milton Keynes to our dear lady who has been leading this for the past 2 weeks. So I hand over to you, Lady Jasmine. Thank you once again for honoring our invitation. It's always a privilege to work with you too. Thank you. So I hand over to you to welcome our viewers and acknowledge them for us.
Thank you very much, Councillor Nab. Good evening, everyone. I'm very, very privileged actually to be here. Nothing could stop us from being here today. And I'm so happy I have my mummy here, Reverend Cynthia Sutherland. It always gives me peace and encouragement when I know you're on here. And Uncle as well. And very welcome, a very happy welcome to Reverend Irene. I think it's going to be exciting. So I'm Jasmine Messent. I'm a mental health practitioner and an independent advocate. So we're excited to what God is going to do through this event today, and I'm hoping everybody will remain blessed, and we're all going to leave here feeling very edified, enriched, and happy to actually move on to greater things. Thank you.
Thank you so much. And thank you all. Let me acknowledge these few people online and then we can dive into it. All right. So I will say hello to you, Lady Emefa. Thank you for joining. Lady Diana, thank you for joining. Good evening. Na Nokai, thank you for joining. Good evening to you. Lady Pastor Lena, thank you for joining. Good evening. Lady Pastor Janice, God bless you. Thank you for joining. And Lady Dolphine, God bless you. Thank you for joining. I've seen many people online. So please, before I can acknowledge you, you have to just put a comment or say something to us so we can see the person and acknowledge. God bless you. Stay tuned, like they've all said, and let's journey together. Okay, so like I said, I think this is the fourth week. I think this is the fourth week when since we started trauma. In as much as I have or I can just do the introduction or just put everything together, I would just like to leave it for our mental practitioner to take us through a little bit before we come on to our case study today. So, Mami Abna, you are welcome. Thank you for joining. So, I hand over to you, Lady Jasmine, to take us through the first few bits.
Thank you very much, Councillor Nav. Welcome everybody once again. So today we continue with a part two of delving deeper into unresolved traumatic experiences from early years. So just to give a little recap about what complex trauma is, we looked at it from the very first episode, where it was described or defined as the type of trauma that we experience from our younger years that actually finds expression when unresolved into our later years. So it has been able to, these are the kind of experiences that when unresolved, they find their way into affecting how people interact with other people, forming relationships. It even impacts on people's working environments, how they perceive the world around them, or how they feel the world is perceiving them. And it has actually sometimes had very life-altering outcomes as well, which could be either for positive or negative, but mostly it's been a negative outcome. So we believe that today, hopefully, as we delve into deeper topics, I think today, as Councillor Nab has already said, the exciting part is we're going to actually be delving into case studies. And, you know, we felt that it would be a very good way to engage the audience, to get people to be able to also kind of give their contributions to really, and we've got all these wonderful professionals here today, including Reverend Cynthia as well. So we're going to, as everyone knows, I love the biopsychosocial approach. So we're not going to just treat one area and leave the rest. We're going to really tackle everything spiritually, physically, emotionally, everything. So yeah, please stay tuned with us. Yeah.
Okay, thank you very much. Thank you very much. Let me put, so we start with our first case study. Let me put it on and I can explain. Only you are welcome. Thank you for joining. So, I hope you can all see it. Now, let me bring this one first. Okay, so I will read this one and we can discuss it together. For whatever reason, it's not showing up, but let's see.
You can
Okay.
see.
All right. So the first case study is a young lady who was in a high school and came to know her mom's demise through her dream. So she was in secondary school. She had a dream, saw her mom pass away, and she decided to call and confirm from the family about her mom's death. But it said that she tried to confirm with her family, but they were indisposed until she was embraced home with obituary posters. So she went home and realized that truly, truly her dream was true, but the family refused to speak to her about. And this has affected the young. She was in secondary school at that time. It has affected her till now. And so I want to throw it to you, counselors, to you. What advice can we advise this lady? What do we think we can do to support this lady to come out of this? This is one time case, isn't it? One time traumatic, yes, and it has
Yeah.
affected her. It has become a chronic traumatized for her. So I will hand over to you again, Lady Jasmine,
Thank
to
you. Thank you very much, Councillor Nam. It's really, really sad, isn't it? It's actually quite heartbreaking because we all know that even in terms of developmental well-being, the mother is the primary caregiver. So to lose a mum, I know in Ghana where we come from, they say umami wa no webusuasa. When you lose your mom, you've literally lost your entire family. Not necessarily, but that's what it normally, signifies. So for somebody to be in secondary school to actually have a dream, there's a few elements in there. I think things that we sometimes take for granted because our spiritual being, the spiritual part of us as human beings, and even as Black and ethnic minority cultural people, religion, last time, I think through the previous sessions, we've spoken about it, that they do play a very, very important role in shaping who we become and in also molding us and modeling us through the vicissitudes of life. So I think it's really, there are a few things to kind of touch on here. So the spiritual bit, Reverend Cynthia, I think, Mummy, would like to put it to you in terms of when it came to the dream and, someone seeing something like that. What would your advice be that should have been the first point of call when she made contact with the family to actually disclose this is what she had seen in her dream? Because I think that is the first starting point of how that could have been addressed, which would have probably made a difference to the entire picture moving forward. So, what would you please have to say?
Um, it's a difficult one. Just like you're saying, it's the spiritual, isn't it? And many a times when we dream, um, we don't know the meaning of the dream, so it's difficult for us to be able to get what the dream is telling us. But as a young lady, for her to come out of the dream and realize that something could have happened, something is probably happening at the background, and I think she did the best. I think as a young person, it's difficult to say, but prayer should have been the first thing to go ahead with, because it is the Spirit of God that gives us that the grace to be able to step out of that place of trauma, that place of hurt, that place of uncertainty, because clearly she didn't know what was happening. So I would say prayer was the first thing, but as young as she was, I think she did the right thing to contact her family and say, I've had a dream as such as this. What is happening? But if the people were very upfront with her, could have said to her, I don't know whether the dream was when she died or before she died. And if it was
Okay,
before,
so she said she saw her mom's spirit coming out of her body.
mm,
So
yeah,
that was her.
yeah. And so I'm saying that we don't know whether the dream came before the mom passed, or the dream was after the man had passed. Do you understand it? Because
Before the mom passed, yeah.
yeah, so if it was before, then prayer could have gone ahead and changed the circumstance. But if it was after, there's nothing that she could have done. But the family were, I mean, we as a family, we need to support our own. We need to stand with people when they are down. Sometimes our behavior as a family feels like, somebody is down and we are kicking them on the ground. Such a traumatic dream. And then calling for you to say that, oh, they didn't even want to respond to it. And then you hand me over an obituary. It's just a wicked act, if I would say it. It was such a very wicked act. But eh, we are delving deep, so I don't want to go ahead of myself. But ordinarily, I would say that when we have dreams and they don't sound right, they don't feel right, we have to go on our knees and pray and see what God is doing. If it's happened before, God has a way of comforting us. So it's very important that our dreams are things that happen spiritually, and God opens the eyes to see them. And so, yeah, prayer is very important in this aspect.
Thank you very much, Reverend Cynthia.
Mm,
So, I just wanted to also say, so then it's actually quite clear from the case study that
mm,
actually the trauma initiated even right from the dream, because for a
yeah,
young person
Yeah.
to see life leave your mum,
yeah,
just a couple of days ago, one of my kids had a nightmare. I had to even call you Reverend Cynthia, if you
yeah.
quite remember. And it's funny how when I heard the story, it was making me reflect on that. My daughter actually was shaken. She was literally
Mm,
shaking for two
yeah.
hours stop from what she had seen in that dream,
Yeah.
thinking, oh, something bad's going to happen to my brother and all that. So I'm just kind of picturing, trying to put myself in that girl's shoes, that
Yeah.
at that point, that means the trauma really started from there,
Started
was
from the
bad
dream.
enough
Yeah.
seeing that.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
then calling your family. I just want to please throw it to you, Reverend Abankwa, Uncle John. What are your thoughts on it from a social care practitioner perspective? That do you think it's actually right for information such as somebody losing their mum? I do understand from a cultural point of view that it's important because maybe she was in school, perhaps she was not in the right setting. But do you think that it was right the way the whole thing was kept a secret till she actually was embraced with obituary posters of her mum? Or could something else, what could have been done to mitigate,
Mhm.
the kind of shock or the trauma,
Yeah.
even, yeah, cutting
Yeah.
even deeper. Sorry, yeah.
Yes, thank you, Lady Jasmine. I think you see the way the whole thing was dealt with. Normally, I do understand the fact that in such a traumatic circumstance, and I don't know what age this young lady was at the time. And normally, when such an issue happens, it is not the best way to communicate this over the phone.
Okay.
So what should have happened was, and sometimes this is how best, whether or not they considered the impact this would have had on this young lady.
Mhm.
Because sometimes when such things happen, families are so preoccupied with what has happened, trying to figure out what they are going to be doing, and maybe unintentionally forget about the children, how they will be feeling in this circumstance. The best way forward would have been maybe someone making a journey to this young person's school to then go and have a conversation and tell her what has happened to the mother. Because at the end of the day, okay, as Reverend Cynthia said, if this was handled properly spiritually, maybe prayers could have gone ahead and dealt with the situation. But it didn't happen. The mother died, and therefore, as that had already occurred, an adult, somebody should have gone to the school and then deliver the message
Yeah.
to this young lady, what had happened, and to be able to then console her. And then the way she then found out late, this is the reason why it has now impacted on her very much, because
Yeah.
how I dreamt, I called, I
Mm.
wasn't given any appropriate audience.
Yeah.
Now, for me to find out this with an obituary poster of my
It's
deceased
such a
mom,
wickedness.
this is just unthinkable. So
Reverend John,
this,
she's online, she's listening. So she said she was 17 years.
Ah,
okay, 17 years is still a very tender age.
yeah.
So that was what should have happened. So that at least a delegate should have gone to the school, called her, even speak to the school authorities and let them know what has happened. Because after telling her and leaving her, she will need support. So
Yeah.
if you make the education authorities aware, then they will be in a position to support. So that at least anything that will come out of that shock, they'll be able to put support
Yeah.
in place. But
Yeah.
all that did not happen. And for her to find out this way, it's not something that, anybody in her shoes, would
Yeah.
have experienced anything otherwise.
Yeah.
So now the damage has occurred. Now,
Mhm.
how to support her to
Yeah.
manage the
Yeah.
trauma that has
Yeah.
occurred. So
Mm-hmm.
we will
Yeah.
look at it.
Yeah.
Thank you very much.
Can I say something
Yes,
here?
yes,
I
please.
think we as we are educating ourselves, we are also in learning lessons from this.
Yes.
There are lessons we need to learn because at some point, if you are not very careful, we'll also stand in the same place that the family stood, and
Mm.
you need to learn. And I remember about 10 years ago, my sister, my younger sister, lost her husband. The husband was in the UK, and she and the children were in Ghana. Now the husband passed away. How do we communicate this? Even to my sister, who was the wife, we had to send somebody to her,
That's right.
you know, to say that this is what has happened. The kids, one was in medical school, the second one was in doing his was going to do his A levels also. We had to they invite them to come home as if everything was okay. They came, sat them down, and
Yeah.
then told them what had happened. They cried together, they comforted each other, and then they departed back to school. They went knowing that they are comforted, that the support they need was available to them. So I think we need to learn these things. Sometimes the way we feel, we expect our children to feel the same.
Hmm.
Oh, I'm older, I can get over it. It's painful, but I can get over it. Children, like you said, your mom passes away and your whole world is broken.
Yeah.
So we need to learn to address these things very well. Otherwise, the trauma that we are going to cause our children, it will take years for them to be able to come out of those things. There are some people who are not able to overcome it, and so they pass on. So it's a lesson that we need to learn.
Thank you very much, Reverend Abanko and Reverend Cynthia. This is really, really touchy. Being a mother myself, and I'm just picturing because I am a single mother of 4 young kids, and God forbid, I pray it doesn't happen. But I'm just kind of really thinking that if something like that should happen, what would they be doing?
Mm.
But I think it's quite fair to also then move it to you, Councillor Irene, Reverend Irene. I think it'll be really useful to find from your perspective in terms of, even though it's been so many years past, but from the way this scenario came to Councillor Nab, I think she could tell the rawness because it's unresolved. I'm presuming
Yeah.
that it still
Yeah.
remains unresolved. So,
Hmm.
as a councillor and as in your domain and in your field, what would be your take on this whole scenario and what would be the next steps moving forward? As Reverend Cynthia said, lots of lessons to be learned. Because I think a lot of the time, from where we come from, we have these preconceived or predisposed ideas about we need to do things this way and that way, and people are not very open to actually thinking what would be really good for this particular person.
Yeah.
There's no person-centeredness when we deal with these issues, because for some people, for example, if somebody who doesn't know their mum, who doesn't have any relationship with their mum, who just hears on the whim that, oh, my mother is dead, it might have a very different impact, psychologically, mentally,
Yeah.
emotionally. But if somebody actually has, depending on the relationship they had with their mother, if their mother was their rock, she was their friend, she was their everything. Who knows if she was a single mom? Then obviously the paradigm shifts, isn't it? And
Hmm.
everything is just so different. So
Yeah.
please give us your professional take on this whole scenario to help the lady as she's online as well. Thank you.
Thank you so much for the opportunity, Counselor. Okay, so like all of us have already said, we need sometimes we ignore the feelings of young people.
Yeah.
And it's
Yeah.
a long essay I'm even writing on counseling children and adolescents in grief.
Mm.
Mm.
Because many a times when we are bereaved, attention is all on the widow or the adults,
Yeah.
So we go and we just tell the children, Daddy is in heaven, and we think that is all. Psychologically, what is happening to this child? What does the children go through? We don't look at that. We only tell them Daddy is in heaven and we are done. In the case of our young lady, like everybody said, recently my husband was amputated and our daughter was in school, in fact, my girl's final year. And so everybody was like, how are you going to, has she heard? I said, no. I know how attached she is to the daddy and how emotionally she can be. And already she's struggling with her studies. She was doing mock and things. So leave that one for me to handle. So on the day of vacation, when she was coming for the Easter break, just last week or whatever, when we had the Easter break, naturally she could have come home herself, but then I decided to meet her at the mall because I didn't want her to come and receive a shock,
Yeah.
okay, of her life, to see the daddy's leg amputated. So I told her, she said, oh, Baba, me, I can come. I said, oh, no, I need to buy certain things at the mall. So meet me there and let's buy it together. Because I wanted an opportunity to break it and make sure that I'm around her so that I
Yeah.
can comfort her. So I met her at the mall. She said she was hungry. I took her to KFC, bought her whatever she would eat. Then I was like, Inshi, there's something happening in the home. So when I broke the news, the first thing like, oh, daddy, then she started weeping. I said, yeah, cry. You need to cry all the cry. So she wept, did all she could. And then I told her the situation that he found herself, it was between having the leg amputated or we losing him. Because
Mm.
according to the doctors, if the infection, within 2-3 days, the infection will rush into the bloodstream and that will be the end of it. So
Mm.
losing daddy and having his leg off, which one do you prefer? Then she said, I prefer daddy being out. I said, then that is it. So let us all go home and encourage daddy so that he will live the rest of her life, knowing that we all love him.
Yeah.
You see, the family, fine, they were thinking that she was in school and that, but then, like Reverend Abankwa said, they could have made sure that when she started calling to confirm, they should have visited her in the school or invited her home to a place. Make sure they counsel, if they cannot use a counselor to break the sad news to her, and then from there she could have picked it from her. But now it didn't happen and the worst has happened. So what do we do?
Yes.
What we can advise, or the counsel we can give our lady, is that all is not lost. Now she needs a clinical psychologist who will help her relive her life. As it is, the family cannot help because she has lost trust in them.
Yeah.
Because they didn't come through with
Yeah.
her, she can't trust them.
Yeah.
So the family can't be of much help. What they can do is try and get somebody, a professional, preferably a counseling psychologist, or a clinical psychologist, to work
Oh, internet. Why?
Very, very deep
Yeah.
stuff, isn't
Yeah.
it?
Like
Yeah.
you were saying, so she's the only like she's the only daughter to the mother, and the mother was a single mom as well at
Mm.
the time. Yeah. So and they were very close, very, very close.
Yeah.
That's right.
So I have a question that I want to ask. I think she said she had the dream in the afternoon.
Mm,
It was afternoon time she had that dream. And now this person has grown. She's an adult now.
mm.
But because of the specific time she had that dream, it has affected her even if she wants to rest in the afternoon. She always That is what she said, that she always thinks that whenever she sleeps or gets up around that time, she
Mm.
gets sad.
Really
Can
with
I say that
trauma.
this is connected to what happened?
Oh yeah. Definitely.
Definitely,
Definitely.
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 And
Okay, she's back.
I think that's why it's quite a shame that the counselor's internet
She's
went,
back.
because
She's back.
that
Let
It's
me let
Canada.
me read it
no,
whilst
no,
she's.
no.
Let me read a few comments while she's. Okay, she's
It's
back.
back.
Let's.
Mm.
Yeah.
Forgive me, oh.
Oh, it's
Just I don't know.
Okay.
Today of all days, the light
I
just
know.
went off. Oh, seriously. So that's why I'm in the dark. Today of all days.
yes.
Sorry, that's Ghana for us. So,
Mm.
like I was saying, as it is now, she would need a professional to attend to her.
Yeah.
She will take her through therapies,
Mm,
which will make her relive her life.
Mm.
And it's going to take some time, but then she can be helped. She
yeah.
can be helped through therapy and stuff.
Yeah.
She can be helped.
Yeah.
wonderful.
Thank you very
Thank
much.
you so much.
Let
Yeah.
me let me read
And
few comments and I'll
like our
give.
mommy said from the beginning, prayer can also help, but then the two should go together. Prayer and law, at the stage she finds herself, she
Mm.
may not even trust God and all that. God, a lot of things will be going on in her mind.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
Yes.
then
Her mind.
with the therapy and the prayer and counseling, she'll be fine. I believe if we are able to do that, she'll be fine. Thank you for the
Amen.
opportunity.
Mm.
Thank you, Reverend. So, Pastor Johnny says, okay, we don't have to take our children for granted. Good evening, Lady Gifty. Good evening. So, and Pastor Johnny says, as caregivers, we have to take our children seriously. We don't know whether the family of this young person are spiritual. That one I don't know.
Mm.
Okay, so good evening, Rich Love, and good evening, Tando. All right, you are once again welcome. Please keep sharing the link and let's be on this journey together. So So what if the family hasn't got the resource to employ a clinical psychologist? What support could we give to our counselors? If the family doesn't have resource to employ a clinical psychologist, what support could we give to her?
So that's, I think I'll probably like to really shed some light on this area. And this is where there's a disparity in terms of service provision outside in the developed world compared to Ghana. And it is something I pray one day we will all be able to work together to resolve. Because here in the UK, I can speak for people here. If anybody was to ever find themselves in that situation, and it did come to either of us on this panel, we would be able to signpost them because there's so many charitable
Yeah,
organizations like Cruise who support with bereavement counseling. There's
yeah,
just so much support in the system, even in terms of mental health services through your GP, through it's
yeah.
like everywhere you turn, even on the internet, you can now self-refer for support. So I think that the biggest challenge is here in the UK, and I'm presuming other parts of the developed world, there are better structures in place. But I think this will probably come back to you again, Reverend Irene, because in Ghana, which is where this incident happened, what would be what hope would this lady ever have had anyway if she was to have brought this to people like us at that time? What would you advise that the next step would be?
Thank you for the opportunity. So, like you were saying, in Ghana, we are a developing country. But then, thank God, now we have a lot of counselors around. I belong to about 2 or 3 groups who are ready to assist in many ways when these issues come up. This month, we have Purple Month. We are working on mental health. We go to schools and we are working on the ground. So now, accessibility to counselors, it's not much of a problem like some years back. And fine, if such a person cannot even have money or whatever to have access to a counselor, I believe that the family may belong to a Christian fellowship or a church or something. These days, we have a number of our ministers and um, people. I can speak for the Methodist Church, for instance. We have a lot of trained counselors who work with people without charging anybody. Okay. So, and then if you don't even have that, we still have people within the, oh, thank God the light is in.
Yeah.
So we do have people. So the family can even fall on family members, our friends, relations who are, who have ideas on how to, help people of this nature. Like I said from the beginning, the lady may not trust the family for now, but then the family can help her through other people who they believe can help. They believe can help. And then, like I'm saying, if you're in Ghana and you need help, you can always contact some of us. We can support you without you thinking of any charge. GNACC, Ghana National Association of Certificated Counselors, we have people who are ready to support everybody who is in need. I belong
Wow.
to GNACC and I also belong to Ghana Psychology Association. We have a lot of lovely counselors there who are ready to support. All we need to know is to get in touch. When we hear, but sometimes we don't even wait for the people to come to us. When we get wind of it and we can come in to support. So if the lady is hearing us or the family is listening to us, they can contact some of us. If I may not be able to help, I can get people, refer you to people who can help without stress. So there's hope for our sister. If she really wants to be helped, there's hope right here in Ghana. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Reverend Irene, I have a question as well. So, in this situation, would
Sure.
something like even a simple apology from the family, do you think that like
Important.
the girl probably have even been able to have even spoken to them to would they even have listened? But would something like even a simple apology go a long way to helping to resolve a lot of this unrest from underneath the conflict, from your professional opinion?
Yes, yes,
Would
because
yeah.
I believe that the lady is going through what she's going through because one,
Oh, internet, don't try.
Oh, it's frozen.
Okay, good evening, Auntie Bridget. Good
As well.
evening.
So if the family can go to her and explain to her that they were thinking that because she was in school, they didn't want to, but I mean, apology, like you said, I believe that she will listen
Yeah.
to them, and
I
then
think,
they can go beyond the apology by getting people to help her.
yeah.
Yes.
So the apology
Thank
will work. But as it is, if they
thank
leave it just like that, it's like they don't really care about what she goes through. But I believe that they
thank you.
care, but it's just that they
Yeah,
don't know
because in
what to
our
do.
Yeah.
So they can also, for as we speak, they also need counseling. The family members also need counseling, even how to relate to her,
Yeah.
even going to apologize. How do they go?
yes,
Yeah.
because in our culture, I think one of the biggest things is children should be seen and not heard, which can be
Mm.
a very, very tricky one because even adults don't think it's adults deserve to or they owe an apology to a child. Even when a child brings up something they're not happy about,
Mm.
they say, "Oh, you've done this to offend me." They don't see the point in saying sorry,
Okay. Yeah.
and these kind of things. Reverend Cynthia, have you got anything to kind of
Yeah.
add to what's going on in Reverend
Yeah.
Abankwa as well?
Yeah. I
Open
think
floor,
what
open.
you said, the family coming to her will be a very good move. But as we all know, like you said, the way we do things, our culture is, that's how we do things. So some of them will not even see the need of coming to say sorry. This is how we do it. You were in school, we couldn't call you, we couldn't let you know because you were in school, all those things. So it's a very, very, very dicey. But if any one of them, even one person from the family, will go to her and say, "We are sorry. We didn't mean to make you feel like this, but because we wanted to protect you, That's why we took that move. So please forgive us and let's see how we can go forward with this." I think that would take a lot of strain from her, and that will help her. Yeah.
Thank you very much, Reverend Abankwa. I see you. Have
Yeah,
you got any?
that's right. Thank you, Reverend C, for that. But you see, the issue here is, let's take it for example, the family may not even acknowledge
Yeah.
whatever they did was not the
Mm,
right approach.
That, yeah.
So now we're trying to help our sister to move on.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Even if they don't acknowledge what they may have done wrongly, now moving forward from what happened,
Mm.
what she needs to accept now is the damage has occurred.
What's been done? Yeah.
It would have been dealt with differently, but it wasn't. They
Yeah.
did it the way they probably
They know
understood
how.
at the time.
Mm.
So now, how do I move on from the impact it has had on me? So now it is her to acknowledge that, look, let me forgive my family. Maybe at the time they were in a position of how they dealt and handled it to the best of their ability at
Mm.
the time.
Knowledge. Mm.
So now I forgive them. Maybe they didn't know better how to handle it.
Yeah.
So now, how I am going to move on, because I have to live my life and try mix. Because I think Councillor Knapp was bringing in a point where even having a nap in the afternoon seems
That is
to be
good for her
impossible
life.
for her.
mm,
It was that time that she had a dream.
children dream,
So,
yeah.
as we know, healing is a process.
Yeah.
Yeah.
She has to start from somewhere, come to terms with that, move on from that trauma of having a nap. Because even having a nap is traumatic for her because it brings back the memory. And she was 17 at the time. I don't know how old she is now. So, for the years that have come and
30
gone,
years now.
Well,
30, that is
13 years ago.
13 good years.
Mm.
So it has to start from somewhere.
Yeah.
And as I said, it is going to be a process. It's going to be a gradual process of
Mm.
healing. So it's about really taking baby steps to make sure that there is gradual
Mm. Yeah.
talking therapy, counseling session, whether by professional or by even church authority or wherever that is going to come from, so that they will take her through that process and hope with prayers gradually she'll be able to overcome that trauma that has occurred to her.
Okay, so Reverend, whilst you are talking, she said that I have forgiven them. So she has forgiven the family. But
Yeah.
what she wants now is like is that's what you are saying. What she said, I have forgiven the family, but I want to be free from the sadness that happened when I sleep.
That's right.
So that's her worried at the moment, because even if she goes to work and come back, she can't sleep because of that. So
That's right.
we are clear.
Councillor Nab, is she here in the UK or is she
Yeah,
still
she's
in
here.
Ghana?
Yeah,
Oh, okay.
she's here.
So then I guess
The
she will
network
probably have
is
to be signposted. Yeah, she can either make a self-referral or I guess we can speak
Yeah,
after. I'm happy to
yeah,
kind of speak to see. And we've got some trauma-informed experts in the UK as well that will be joining subsequently. So we
yeah.
can kind of connect her to someone who can really signpost her to the right place to get the support. But I think, as Reverend Abankwa said, the healing process starts with that decision, isn't it? It's with her. And the
Yes.
great thing is that she's forgiven. So
Yeah.
then it's about all of us coming together to trust God as well, give her that grace to go through it. So, Councillor Irene, have you please got any more to kind of add to that?
Ghana is freezing.
Oh,
So Pastor Johnny said we must have a cultural shift or change of mindset, whether
yes.
where adults can apologize to children. Very important.
Yes, I was about to actually say
Yeah.
that. So moving forward, Reverend Abankwa and Reverend Cynthia Councillor Nab. So where do we go from this? So this particular incident is just one, and we get to that. The key thing right now for the young lady is to help her to move forward. But what
Yes.
about like mitigating the risk of this happening to people moving forward? How do you think in your own special ways you can actually put that message across? Like the person's just left that comment about the culture shift thing. How do you propose we actually start? Where would be the starting point? In the church, at home, at work,
We
everywhere?
can start from everywhere. In the house, it's important that we have to know that our children are very important. Like Pastor initially said, Pastor Janice said, if we cherish our children, their emotional is also counts as well. So it's always important that when we do something to them, it's better we start apologizing if necessary, when necessary. We shouldn't think that we are adults and all those things. We should forget about that. If we have to apologize, we should. Where we have to correct them, we should. Whatever we have to do to make sure that their emotional health is intact, to me, I think it's very important we do so.
yeah,
And with the church setting, I think we have to set,
yeah,
last, I think Reverend C mentioned that when we are able to set maybe groups and things to like counseling group, this group to help the young people to in natural, not only young people, everybody. I think it's very important that we do so as well, because most of the people that come to church, they look at the church as a solution center,
mm,
you see. So we come in to pray, but there is counseling. There are so many issues. People that come to church, they have a lot of issues, and so it's important that we set things in place to help people when they need counseling, when they need support here and there. We should be able to be there to embrace them and then help them in such manner.
yeah.
Thank you very much, Councillor Nab. So support groups would be a very good starting
Very,
point
Very
here from a
good.
mental perspective. I think that would be really
Yeah.
fantastic. Because if I may please just quickly shed some light on this. So even though in this country, we're in the UK, there's a lot of support out there, a lot of things that people can access. The reality is for people from Black and ethnic minority backgrounds or cultural backgrounds, we don't find that relatable, especially the way they do it. It's not that it's not good, but for our settings and for our way of life and for the way we often have been raised and nurtured and cultured, it becomes quite a challenge. So then we don't really benefit anything from it. So I think, Councillor Nab, as you're saying, and Reverend Cynthia, as you pointed out, starting from the church would also be a very good place, because why can't we replicate the system
Yeah.
Yeah.
in our own little domains,
Yeah.
just to give that extra value and support, added support
Yeah.
from a relatable perspective.
Yeah.
Yeah, thank you so much.
And
This has
if
been
I could
really,
quickly sort of come in here, I
yes,
think you
please.
see setting up all those support groups, church groups, and all that is good. Is good in the right way. But I think from where we need to tackle is the uh, 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 paradigm shift of our kind. And I'm
Yes,
saying
mindset.
it's our
Yeah.
kind, our mindset, because majority of the times, most of our people, we all come from, I mean, back home from Africa, Ghana, wherever African countries, and we have congregated, we have, gathered here. But believe you me, our mindset could be the same way from
Yes.
wherever we come from, even though we may be in the UK, but the mindset is not here in the UK. The mindset is Ghanaian based,
Yeah.
Congo based,
African, yeah.
Nigeria based, wherever we come from. So
Yeah.
until we shift, because we can, child protection, you'll be surprised that our people still hold the mentality where they come from.
Mm.
Making the shift has become a problem because they still cannot reconcile the two countries
Yeah.
we
Narrative.
are
Yeah.
in. We come from Ghana, Africa. We are living in the UK, but then we are still thinking the Ghanaian way. We
Mm.
haven't made the
Yeah.
shift, and that is
Exactly.
sometimes a conflict with the authorities. So
Yeah.
paradigm shift is very important right from the, if we are all here, women, children, I mean, it's very, very important. No human being is considered as unimportant, but it's not that Ghana or Africa, we don't consider them as unimportant, but it is our view about their existence. Children are not commodities that we acquire. Children are equally human beings. They have feelings, they have emotions. All this toil, what is it for? So that we can leave a legacy for our children. So if we are not aware to change our
Yes.
perspective and start treating them as part and parcel of the family and the next generation, then we are in for trouble. So we need to make that shift. And I believe that is the starting point. Thank you.
Thank you very, very
Mm.
much.
Lady Jasmine, there is something here for you.
Okay. Do we perceive these support groups as family failure, hence not accessing the support available in the communities? Um, Pastor Janice, I think these support groups as well, as Reverend Abankwa has also shared, I think a lot of it goes back down to our mindsets again, the way we perceive things that are being offered to us, because sometimes these support groups could actually, to some people, indicate they failed, but actually there's no shame in it. We're all not perfect. Even as Christians, we're taught that we're striving perfection daily through God himself, through Jesus, and so nobody is actually born perfect, and we can't be perfect. I always have this saying that obi abanye, for example, because everybody's child, to me, my child might be perfect in some ways or might be good at some things, but to somebody else in their setting, they might look at some things and be like, this is not very good behavior. So I think it comes back down to the mindset. The support groups are just there in order for us to have that safe space of expression, which comes back again to our mindset, because as African or minority cultural people, we often like to keep things closed up, isn't it? We like to think, oh, hush, hush, everything is just we and Kawabunti. We're saying this at home. We don't need to share this out there. Let's try and, in-house manage things. Even it happens in churches, it happens in the home, it happens everywhere. But this is where a lot of the risk factors are also falling through the cracks and through the net, because we're actually overlooking things with sentiment. And then sometimes we're missing the bigger picture, which then can predispose people to harm. It could be adults, it could be children. And so I think there's going to have to really be a very big paradigm shift, like Reverend Abankwa said. And for me personally, it starts with things that I do in the community, which is raising awareness. I actually love to put up awareness workshops. Pastor Nancy and I are hoping to do some, collaborations. Reverend Cynthia knows, and I'm always very happy to help. And I know there's lots of professionals, like Reverend Irene has said, that now even in Ghana, I didn't even know that there's a lot of initiatives,
Good.
things to kind of support people and help them. So I think it's about all of us doing our bit to normalize these things, because change always starts with one person. We need to
Yes.
start from somewhere.
Mm.
So
Yes.
please, let's embrace these kind of initiatives, whether you find it in your church, you find it, in your local community, whatever you need to do to help you to maintain that wellness. We need to start learning to engage. It's all about the engagement,
Yes.
because if we're not engaging, then we're not going to actually get anything, and we'll always be at that place. There'll be no change, there'll be no innovation, there'll be no moving forward. So I hope that answers the question. Unless somebody else has something on the panel they might want to add as well to the question from
Yes. Yes. Please.
us.
I wanted to say something. I think the support groups, as we've mentioned, they are good. They are very, to some extent, effective in helping. But I'm talking from the point of view of the church, that we need to create a safe space, not necessarily in a group, that somebody can come to you and say that this is what I'm going through. What can you help me to do to get over? A safe space where people can come and not feel judged and not feel condemned. It is absolutely necessary. And like we're saying as well, the mindset is also important, because some people think that if I go and tell this pastor my business, everybody will know. And so let me keep it to myself. So the paradigm must be shifted all areas, in our homes, in our church. We need to learn to change that mindset, that help is available. Help is available for us. It doesn't matter where it can come from, whether it's the community, whether it's the therapies or whatever. The opportunity is there for us to take and also work with it. And so if you are in a church, you can find somebody, your pastor, if your pastor's wife, or somebody you want to trust, or you trust, go and divulge whatever is going through in your life, and let them. I always say that if I can't deal with it, I have a way of signposting you to who will help you. So the church must be a safe place for. Yes. Yes, Lady
Thank
Pastor.
you so much. Thank you so much, Mommy. That's really, really lovely. But actually, when you were just speaking, it kind of brought something else to my mind, even within the church or within our
Mm.
community at
Yeah.
large. So I have really, by grace, I've been very passionate, as everyone knows, and I would actually sacrifice my own time, my own energy, I would even put my professional thing online just to kind of support people. One thing I really struggle with, though, it's not that the help is sometimes also not there, but I think it's the way we actually receive it and how we perceive things, because it comes back against the mindset. There's been times where I have given up my time as a single mother with 4 kids, and I would actually want to go reach out to help someone. I have actually made the concessions within my day. I've made the provisions by grace to go and support them. And people actually take the time for granted. And they just
Mm.
think, I think for
Yeah.
We
ethnic
have
people, I
nothing
think
to
when
do.
we're not paying for something, or when we're
Mm-hmm.
having access to something for free, we kind of we don't value it. I don't know.
Yeah.
So I think this
True.
mindset thing, as Councillor Irene and Reverend Abankwa and Councillor Nab, everybody, and even if there's anybody out there in the audience who actually knows what we can do in terms of that mindset, the paradigm shift, how can we actually start doing it? Because I thought by having the workshops and kind of having these events where it's a safe space open for us to have these discussions, using the experts in their field to come and speak, like for example even this platform now, there are things there, but it's how can we get people to really see the benefit of it, to engage, to actually accept the support that they're getting from it. Because I have it all the time where sometimes I almost want to give up, because I'm
Yeah.
making time and people waste my time,
Mm.
but then you still want to help them. So you end up still doing it. But
Mm.
how can we get people to really understand that time is precious, and
Yeah.
whether it's free or you're paying for it, time is time, and they
Yeah.
need to kind of respect it as
Yeah.
well for
Yeah.
their benefit?
Yeah. I think I just want to add a little to what you said. You know, sometimes you want to help people who are going through life traumatic experiences, and you put your life on the line for them, your career on the line for them. And whilst you have given them what you think they will need, the tool they will need, they still expect you to use the tool for them.
Yes.
Right? They want you to use the tool. So in effect, they want to be there and do all the work for them. But this, as we are saying, is the journey we are on. We are all involved in the journey. And so when we get the opportunity, we shouldn't expect the expert to be doing all the work for us. Everything that we can also put in to make sure that we are living the life that God has for us. I think it will take us a long way in enjoying life as well. Thank you.
I have a message that one of my neighbors had sent to me actually, because she was on and she's a health professional as well. And she
Mm,
said, I just want to quickly read it out. She said, just listen to case study one, really interesting. And she had tears, like,
mm,
the emoji. She said, it's really interesting to hear different perspectives on how the situation could have been handled differently.
mm,
Completely agree that adults underestimate impact of significant traumatic events on children, and the focus is sometimes in the wrong place.
yeah,
So yeah, that's also, yeah, I just thought I'll share
yeah,
that.
yeah,
You know.
yeah, that's true.
Okay.
Yes, Councillor
So
Nav. It's quite a lot to reflect on and to
Yeah,
digest
yes,
and absorb,
yeah.
yes,
isn't it? Quite a lot.
yeah. Okay. So Pastor Johnny says
I throw it back to
most, most Africans think, yeah, most Africans take things for granted. I am saying most, not all. Most, not all. Okay, so we
Yeah.
are work in progress. Yeah. When it comes to these things that you are saying, I think most of the time, mostly I share with Reverend C. When people are taking advantage of your time and all that, they think you have nothing to do. Sometimes you just want to give up on them, but the passion and the compassion you have for the people will still push you to go back
Mhm,
to do. But in actual fact, with me, if I realize that you are taking advantage too much, in actual fact, I will just leave you until you yourself you are ready. You see, until you
mm,
yourself you are ready, and then you come back. Because when the person is ready and the person come back, she or he will just listen to what you are saying, and then they will see the importance of what you were trying to, or the
mm,
help you were trying to offer.
mm,
So I think sometimes we just have to leave them. And I always tell them that if you book, 40 to 6, when you book counseling session, 40 to 60 minutes, you won't pay anything less than £50 an hour. You won't pay anything less than £50 for 40 minutes. And so if somebody is giving you the 2-3 hours of their time just to make sure you are okay, and you don't see the value of it, leave them.
mm,
Leave them for
mm,
some time. When
yeah.
they are
Mhm.
ready, or when they go through other people and they realize that it's not cheap as they think, they will come back and value your time. So,
thank you.
oh, that's Counselor Irene want to say something, or anyone want to say something before we move on?
Oh, I think it's fun.
Okay, we were going to do three
Yeah.
case studies, but we have used an hour for one. So maybe the second, let's do one more and then we'll finish it. So, do you
Mm.
want to bring the second one out, or we should do this? No, bring the second one. I think I'm interested in the
Yeah,
other
I
one you
want
have.
us to start on that one because then this is where I
Yeah.
was also conflicted. I was looking at the time, I was like, oh, this is the juicy, juicy bit. I'm just
Yeah.
kidding.
So let's do that one. Yeah, let's
Yeah,
do that
yeah.
one.
But I think the second case study is a very interesting one. It's one that's very dear to my heart actually, because being a mother with young kids as well, and being a person from African descent in our cultural backgrounds, um, there's a particular topic of interest that I think lately, I think in our communities, I'm sure even Abankwa would really agree with me as a social care practitioner. Grooming. So grooming has become increasingly now, I think, and I really hope, and my prayer is that as many people will be listening to this as possible, because
Mm.
especially in our communities, when it comes down to the cultural predispositions and our backgrounds and how we're nurtured and all that. Things that may seem normal to us or may just be overlooked when you're in a system like here, and also moving forward in life, the way the world is actually moving at a pace where we're all a global village. I think it's really important for our own understanding. Now, there'll be no excuses for ignorance, because even the Bible says, for the lack of knowledge, my people perish. And I think it's really important we talk about these things because it's happening right on our doorsteps. So, grooming, I think I'll just like to quickly read a definition by NSPCC. And when we say grooming, grooming could be for adults or for children. But I think for me, in this particular setting, delving deep into unresolved traumatic experiences from early years, I would want the focus to actually be on children, young people, because they're actually very vulnerable by virtue of development, by virtue of being needing supervision, needing people to actually make decisions for them and care for them. So the NSPCC actually defines, it says grooming is a process that involves the offender building a relationship with a child. So let me just quickly pause there. So offender, that means that grooming is what? It is an offense.
Yes.
So we need to really please take note of this. These days, the laws have been updated. When you're grooming somebody, it's just as bad as you actually going all the way to do the act. Because before, there used to be a distinction, a clarity, like, kind of a difference. But now it's all being treated with utmost seriousness. It says grooming is a process that involves the offender building a relationship with a child and sometimes with their wider family, gaining their trust and in a position of power over that child in preparation for abuse. This is CEOP 2022, so it's quite a recent resource. And it says grooming can happen anywhere, including online, in organizations, in public spaces, also known as street grooming. But I think I want to add a few to that list. It can happen in our own homes. It can happen in our
Yeah.
family friends' homes. It can happen in the church, because I'm dealing with the different spaces that for people from ethnic minorities where we operate and where we function. It can happen in the classroom, in the schools. It can happen even with health professionals involved. It can happen with any professional that's involved in supporting children and their families. So this is quite a serious, thing. I had to give context before I share the case study. So there was a case study, and the people involved are people from ethnic backgrounds. So I'll just quickly give a scenario. So there's a young person, a 14-year-old girl, involved in this scenario, and she's from a single parent family. She immigrated from Africa and came here 3 years ago. And when she came to join her family here, it's been one struggle after the other, because obviously transitioning and acclimatizing in a system like this, there's already, first of all, there's a very big culture shock, because I am actually someone who immigrated around that same age. So I am very familiar with what the experiences could be and the potential challenges. So you come from Africa, you've come in here, and then first of all, language is even a barrier. There's so many challenges, barriers anyway. But somehow, some way, you're forging your way to settle in. And then family, you come here and, by virtue of our cultural beliefs that we rely heavily on community support, extended support systems. So for example, even when you need childcare, you need someone to babysit, you feel, oh, I can ask auntie this, my friend, uncle this. Oh, if you are home as an irresponsible adult, can you please help to look, especially those that have other young people as well in their home. So we kind of naturally assume that, oh, which there's nothing wrong with it. So anyway, this young person came in, and then mom has found herself in recent times in a situation where she needed to depend on external support. So then she depends on somebody. And this person, very wonderful, very lovely person, is supporting the family, giving them all that help. And the person observes there are few challenges that they think they might need a professional's opinion. to kind of help to navigate the pathway. So they involve a professional. But then along the way, the young person discloses to the professional who has been involved in the case. So the professional that was involved, there's a bit of a complex thing going on in the sense that they're also somehow affiliated or connected with the family. So the lady who's been helpful, the helper, who has brought in the professional to support the family on a few other issues to support the young person, is actually also somehow a family friend. There's some sort of our
Yeah.
cultural thing. Yes, affiliation. And then the young person is disclosing that actually there's something they're not happy about, that they've noticed and observed that they think is wrong, and they need to escalate it, only for it to come out. And from assessing all the information, it was kind of presenting from the scenario that there's an element of grooming going on. So then the professional decided to actually, because normally when young people say things, we have to also be quite careful, in as much as, yes, it can be quite direct, it can be quite straightforward. And as a professional, Reverend Abankwa, you might have to give a lot of insight on this scenario. It sits right in your remit, actually, as a social care practitioner. So the professional, initially, the initial stage is to obviously establish, to ascertain that the facts, the story is checking out. So it approaches, all the relevant parties, and actually escalates it for the mother of the child to be aware of what has happened, or the inappropriate interactions of so the person that was being inappropriate, that was escalated, is actually the partner of the helper, the person who's been supporting the family and then getting a professional involved. Yeah. So the partner of that person. But it's tricky because the helper, oblivious to everything, has brought the young person in to babysit. And then obviously from that invitation, it spiraled into so many inappropriate things happening. Not that the person has enabled it themselves, but obviously, for example, if they're around, they get a phone call, they exit the room, leaving the young person with this partner, and then they're obviously having very inappropriate conversations, even to the point of offering alcohol to this young person, and there's all red flags all over the situation anyway. So then it's been addressed, but then I just want to please put to people, because this has been one, like Reverend Cynthia said, lessons learned. I'm a practitioner. We reflect and we learn a lot from things, because I'm a professional as well. So imagine if I'm that professional who's been brought in to help and this gets disclosed. What would you advise would be the way forward? Because don't forget, there's that complex personal affiliation. And obviously, with the families and our cultural people, if you're not careful, you get labeled, blacklisted. And then people also even do this thing where they lie and try to say, oh, I see them like my daughter. But you wouldn't be offering your 14-year-old daughter alcohol. You wouldn't be telling her, oh, I like you. But, and it's that whole kind of creating that falsified trust relationship. Oh, I like you, but you're a bit younger, 14, but what about your 15-year-old friend? Can you give me their number? And come on, hang on a minute, 14, 15, are they all not still children? And then saying, don't tell anybody, we can talk more about this. And then they try to even break the professional that's been brought in, that's supporting the family, the young girl and her family, to try and kind of sever the ties, like breaking that confidence in the young person, kind of, it's all been happening, like it's been gradually building up until this person disclosed it, and it was happening right under everybody's eyes. So as a professional, Reverend Abankwa, what would you have said the initial thing to do when a disclosure like that comes to you? What do we do? And in terms of trauma, we need to also delve into, because the young girl then disclosed actually to the professional that the reason I've had to say this, I couldn't speak to my mom because my mom might it could create problems, it could ruin the relationship, and then they're feeling indebted to the helper because they feel this person's help, but then it's their partner that's also perpetrating or trying to be a perpetrator or attempting or working towards it. So then how do we kind of unravel the whole thing and unpick it?
This is a very complicated mesh.
Mm.
I'm saying this because the parties involved are all integrate, very sort of integral. They are all in the mix of the support around this young person.
Yes.
And this is what happens, because normally grooming, as you have already highlighted, some are from within the family, some are from the people that are around us, some are from trusted individuals, some are from people who have come as helpers, and things have gone that way. I just hope and believe that nothing awful has taken place yet.
Not yet. Yes.
So
Thank God it was
yes,
disclosed right
so
at the
this
point
has
where I came to.
exactly, so which
Yeah.
is good. But you see, because this individual who is trying to help this young person is implicated
Yes.
in the situation currently, this whole thing has to be, because there is an interest to protect.
Yes.
It is too close to home. So if they really, really want to deal with this situation, and people's emotions shouldn't be running high, either they want to progress this further, or they want to make sure they stop it right here and there, so that things will not progress further. So this young person has made this disclosure. This person, who is supposedly the helper, now finds her husband to be the one who is implicated here. So straight away, there is an interest to protect. They
A
have to take
conflict.
this,
Yeah.
is a conflict of interest.
Yeah.
So they have to take the situation out of that scenario and
Yes.
deal with it. That individual, the helper, shouldn't be emotional about it, because it can happen to anybody
Yes.
for no fault of the partner of this person. It was a temptation which, unfortunately, he's probably falling for it. It could have happened to anybody. Any man is vulnerable.
Yes.
Any
Yes.
man is vulnerable. But sometimes that is why we have to put protective measures around us when it comes to certain situations. So now this person, if they want to make progress, that help, that situation that will create any further contact should stop.
Yes.
They have to stop it. And they have to now start dealing with the situation to really come up with a proper solution, a proper resolution to the whole thing. Are they wishing to involve the authorities? Are they wanting to deal with this on an informal basis? Because there are two ways of dealing with it. So decisions have to be made. And if they really, because this person may not want this to become something that will now get into the hands of the authorities, because of the implications, because of the things that might occur. So it's about really, how then do they progress with this? They have to really talk about things, and talk about things very, very strategically. Because
So,
this,
can I please add something
yes,
that I forgot, a little detail? So, the young person had already disclosed to the other young person whose contact details were being requested before I believe she had actually disclosed to the professional.
mm,
So, then that means that that changes the whole thing, because
right,
then it cannot be dealt with in-house, because at which point do we draw the line? Because as
right,
a people, we like to deal with these things. Oh, let's deal with it in-house. And then it turns out that obviously as parents as well, we take things for granted, because
mm,
the mother was already aware there
mm,
was a place where they had attended an event,
mm,
and somebody noticed and observed at that time
mm,
apparently how this perpetrator or aspiring perpetrator was relating to the young person,
yeah,
and they actually raised the flag to the mum.
right,
But in the mum's mind as well, she kind of thought, oh no, that possibly can't be, because the trust of the helper.
that's true.
So instead of looking at that person as
Mm,
a man and
mm,
as somebody who is not the actual helper, then it kind of, so yeah, those are the extended bits.
so this has
um
already progressed to that level.
Yeah, so so there's been things, yeah, and I think the other thing that was really, really kind of scary was the fact that when the professional and apparently the helper, because they're all professionals, so they used to communicate,
Mm,
formulating risk management plans,
mm,
dealing with issues. I believe that the helper was kind of sharing, with the partner, not in a bad way, because most people would do that, isn't it? When you're baffled by things, how you want to support. And
yeah,
this person has gone behind the partner
mm,
and apparently has gone to divulge everything and probably adding more things to spice it to kind of twist and make it more, seem like they're actually to be trusted and everybody else is not to be trusted. So kind of making the helper and the professional look like they're not to be trusted and he is rather to be trusted, and was doing all that in the background.
So I think now, because of, I see that the interest, the conflict of interest is really now, it's it's going to interfere with the investigation,
Mm.
Yeah.
because there is too much interest in it. This
Too much.
individual should step aside, and then a neutral individual should rather be now investigating the whole thing, because as normally you would know, if an investigation is being carried out by the police, they don't want any contamination of the
No.
Mm.
evidence. Now the evidence has been contaminated because further information has been shared with
Mhm.
the person in question.
Yeah, the perpetrator, the
Mm.
aspiring
That's
perpetrator.
right. So now this helper has to step aside.
No, you mean the
The
professional.
professional.
The
Because there's a
profession.
helper and there's a professional.
That's right. So the
They
professional
are
is
two
in
separate.
talking terms with the helper.
Yeah, but that apparently has ceased. The contact has ceased.
Exactly. Because this helper who is was talking to the professional
Yeah.
and then passing information to the partner, who probably didn't know that did she know?
Yes. No, she didn't
Exactly.
apparently. Yeah.
She didn't know. So now that it has come to light, they have to seize that. And then the course of the investigation has to be neutral. It has to be neutral now.
So
This,
when you say the course of investigation, please, Reverend Abanko, are you trying
yeah,
to say, so does that mean that it needs to be reported or escalated for the professional? What advice would you give the professional?
you see, was
The
the
person that it was
professional
exposed to.
was the professional acting in a capacity of in an informal capacity or in a formal capacity as a professional?
I
What is
think it's a mixture of both. I think when the story came to me, because I believe that the professional was actually introduced. So the beginning, the genesis of the relationship of the professional with the whole situation and the family and everything was actually in a professional capacity. However, because of our cultural
Mm.
stuff, the relatable element of it, people then kind of you become a trusted adult where you're like, an auntie. So for example, when I deal with my young people, I let them, they call me rich auntie. So for me, that's my stage. Like, I'm rich auntie, the one and only. So no, it just kind of, it's a trusting kind of thing, isn't it? And it kind of sometimes brings down the barriers to
Mm,
people actually being able to have it as a safe space. So let's say, for example, that I think from what I understand of the situation, it was a mixture of both. So even though the person is trusting the person to be close to them, however, they also said that I asked why did they trust that person, and they said they trusted them because they've seen what they did. They knew they would be the better person to deal with the whole situation for them and sort it out. So then it's kind of that's where it becomes
Mm.
very messy and complex, isn't
Yeah.
it?
yes.
Mm.
The
Yeah.
boundaries have been blurred here.
Mm.
And
But this is what's happening in our communities, though,
yeah.
because it's happening and it's really implicating people. And this is what people need to understand, men especially, when they're doing these things, they're hearing things. Oh, akolawe is akolabone, so they are forming an impression in their mind. Oh, maybe me akona. Do you get what I mean? Like information is being passed to people, and they are having access. They're privy to information, and they're using it to their advantage to
Mm,
kind of prep for abuse, and
Mm.
and they don't see it. That's the sad thing. most men will be like, oh, Nase, and yes, sir. Oh, I see them like my child. I do this. But, at which point do we really actually detach from our personal affiliations and our emotions and stuff and actually deal with things? Because the partner, I believe that initially, the whole point why she got a professional involved was because she was quite concerned about some young people who are the girl's age at school bullying the child, doing a few things that were a bit inappropriate. So she even felt to escalate and raise safeguarding then. But it's funny how when it happened with her partner, which is actually, I feel, is more serious, it's kind of like the paradigm shifts. But then it's sad because you can also, as a woman, you can see, you can picture, and you can empathize. But then at which point do we really deal with things as we should? Because if that was your child, would you sit quietly and do nothing? If that was my child, would I sit and say nothing? And these are people that are probably coming in and out of our homes. They're coming to visit us. They're very close to us. What do you do?
You see, the issue here is now relationships are going to be affected, whichever way you look at it. It is
Inevitably.
every professional's responsibility when it comes to safety. And the position of the professional now has been compromised because the person, it is his or her responsibility when it comes to safeguarding to report any situation that may be happening to a child.
Yes.
That is going to destroy relationships.
Yeah.
Yes.
But for the sake of this child and for the sake of future children, that has to be reported
Yes.
so that the correct measures will be taken to safeguard this one and
And
potential
others.
children. Because this is the issue. This might go, but is the individual going to learn any lessons from that?
That's the
So
thing.
it is the responsibility of the professional, which is a very difficult position to be in, to report this formally for this to be. That is why we tell children, if you disclose anything to me and it will require safeguarding, I already informed you, this is going to be shared so that
Yes.
you will be protected, safeguarded, and other children will also be. So this one, it's not the one that we can deal with it in-house or informally. It has to progress further. And
Yes.
that is going to impact on relationships,
Yes.
unfortunately. So
Yes.
that has to be done in the formal way. The helper is not going to be happy, but that is the way it is. Because when it came to that point where she was even concerned about the
Yes.
friendship of this young
Yes.
lady,
Yes.
she was determined to take action. Now it
Yes.
has come home. So we
Yes.
cannot sweep it under the carpet.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Thank you very much. And I think, I know we're coming to the end. We'll probably have to continue it next week. I'm interested to know what sort of comments that come up because there's a lot of things I think I'm pleading as a professional, as a mother, as a person, pleading with everybody that we need to really take safeguarding our children and our homes very seriously. And grooming, people think it's always a big, oh, this uncle's always spending money on this child, always buying this for them, oh, always giving them this. We associate material things to somebody helping us and being kind to us. And it comes back down to the mindset. Please, let's really be mindful. And especially, it's young ladies tend to be, when you do contextual safeguarding, then it comes into the trafficking. And there's so many issues that can flare up. Even for young boys as well, county lines, like people using them to actually conduct their criminal activities and, giving them new trainers, giving them this and that. We equip, especially, I know as a people, Black and ethnic minority people, we tend to associate material things with kindness and people showing love to us. So maybe it's time that we started really thinking outside the box because I'm a professional. I could easily be in that situation. Even the helper, it's a professional, but they've now been implicated. And I think we all need to really be very mindful and aware that the law in this land does actually it's upheld. And when you do things, you will not get away with it.
Yeah.
And the thing is that the shame, the humiliation, and the implications that will come after. And now the important bit for me in all of this as well, as we've got the counselor as well, is for this young person. moving forward, what advice would you recommend is given from the traumatic thing? Because we might assume, oh, because they've shared it and they've been consoled and comforted, but there could really be some, because she did mention that there are other uncles. The reason she felt to bring it up is because there are other uncles, so-called uncles who are not family members, that are also constantly pursuing her to for the same sort of thing, because the young kids are very developed, they have boobs, they have a body like a grown-up and all this, so from the traumatic side to kind of mitigate complex trauma or for things actually finding expression in later life in these circumstances, what would be the first step to actually supporting the girl and the mum, because it was quite a traumatic thing to find out as a mother as well.
Okay, so I think our time is up.
Mhm. Yeah.
So we will pick the same case study next and continue. But maybe as you have asked the question, if Reverend C and then the counselor will come in with their last comments, and then we can just call it an evening and pick up this same case study next week and then discuss it, if that's okay. Because for the sake of time, let's also respect our viewers so that next time they will be here again. So Reverend C, please,
Mm.
what do you have to say about it? Then the counselor will come in.
Yeah. I think the individual child needs to be taken care of, needs to be encouraged. They need to be counseled and make them understand that whatever's happening is not their fault and somebody doing that to them, but they can live their life devoid of whatever is happening in the that's affecting them and their family. So it's very important that that child needs to be spoken to. They will need a counsel, the counseling of family counseling of the professional that child entrusted and divulge all that information to. So it's very important that we do that for her.
Thank you. And what about the helper as well? Do you think they
I
will
think
need help?
I think that the helper needs also need to be brought to that place of understanding what the effect of what has happened. Sometimes when people are close to us and they do the wrong thing, we want to protect them, but they need to know what has happened and ask the question: if that girl is to be your child, what would you have done? That question needs to be thrown to that person to answer. So yeah,
Thank you.
yeah.
Thank you. And Counselor Irene, do you please have
Yeah,
any?
it's just a shame that today that the network is not dealing very well with you. I
Yes,
miss a few things, but I believe from picking up the pieces from where you are, I
mm,
believe that, like Mommy said, the girl will need a counseling.
yeah,
The mother too will need a counseling because they all need support.
yeah,
They will
Yeah.
all need support. So
yeah.
both the mother, the helper, everybody. And then this is not the time for us to blame, especially the girl. We
No, no,
can't blame
no.
her for anything. Yeah. So we should rather give her hope and
Mm,
then counsel her so that she know that she can pick up her life and
yeah,
lead a worthy and a meaningful life even after all that has happened to her.
yeah,
Yeah. So I think that, like you are saying, we'll continue next week.
yes,
Next week,
Yeah.
and we believe that
Yeah.
a lot of things will come up. I'll get more insight into the case study, and then we'll move it from there.
yeah.
Thank you so much for the opportunity.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Over to you, Counselor Nab. Thank you so much, everyone. Reverend
I have a
Ibarra.
lot of questions on this particular case study, but yes, I will put all of them down and then bring it next week. I want to say thank you to everyone. Our time is fast spent. Highly favored. Say, oh, Lady Jasmine has more to pour out. It's true. I can tell that. Thank you for the wonderful teachings. Okay, from Lady. Everybody, because of our time, I want to say thank you so much for taking time out to be here. And I know that you have learned a lot of things. As we are discussing this, also think about it and also make be aware that it can happen to you, whatever we
Mm,
are discussing can happen to you, your family, everybody. But as you are learning, make sure that you also take it on board and guide yourself and guide everyone around you so that we also don't fall victim. God
mm.
bless everyone. I will kindly ask Reverend Cynthia to pray over the souls that are here and the program. God bless you.
All right. So, Father, we have come this evening and you have blessed us so much with wisdom. You have blessed us with what to do, the steps to take, and the comfort that we can derive from all these traumatic events that people are going through. I pray for healing for anyone that is affected in that scenario. I pray, oh God, that you help them to move from that spot to another spot where you are taking them. These are hindrances that come to hinder our future. And therefore, I pray the grace for them to be able to step forward and step ahead because there's so much ahead of them than what they have experienced. So we thank you and we bless you in Jesus' mighty name. Amen.
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 Thank you all so much. We shall meet again next week, same time to continue. God richly bless you, counselors. I'm grateful to you for your time. I don't take it for granted. So good night, everyone, and see
Good
you
night.
same time
Bye,
next week.
Good
everyone.
night. Bye-bye. Hey, the light. Me, we light, yaba.
Oh, yes.